The sun has set on religion and the sun of science has risen, and it is completely without direction, without meaning. What is the meaning of your life? You are being asked by existence to produce the meaning of your life as an answer, and you're supposed to live that answer. Cultivating number 2 gives you an internal center of gravity that is pushing you towards something that you believe in, that you have decided. Greetings, humans, and welcome to Change Your Life on Purpose, where we steal concepts from philosophy, psychology, media studies, religion, wherever we can steal it from in order to try to change your life on purpose. Mine too. Now, today we're going to talk about Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche.
Is that Nietzsche? You don't speak because of Friedrich Nietzsche. Far out.
He is an extremely popular philosopher, maybe a top 20 thinker of all time. He has influenced a ridiculous amount of people. And the most famous thing that this guy ever said is, God is dead. God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. I want to look at this quote today and what it means for us as people who want to make life better, right? A lot of people think that that means that he was a super atheist and he said that God is dead, and then he spiked the football and did a touchdown dance because he was so happy, because he was so critical of Christianity. He was critical of Christianity, but Nietzsche saying that God is dead was not a good thing. He thought that it was an alarm. He thought, oh no, there are going to be super heavy consequences of this, right? My favorite meme about this is, God is dead, 1883, and then Nietzsche is dead. Said by who? By God, right? So did God outlive him? Not according to Nietzsche, right? But according to this meme, yes. So what does it mean, right? What is the phrase God is dead actually mean? Now, he's not making a metaphysical claim, which means he's not reaching up into heaven and saying, I've been there and I know for sure there's no God up here. He's not saying that, right? What he's saying is things had happened in culture and in history that had brought us to a point where we had this brand new thing called science, right? And it wasn't that new. We had been working on it for a long time, but science had grown into such a powerful monster that it was able to reach up into the sky and start to answer questions that we used to need gods for, like electromagnetism, and starting to bring us things that seemed like miracles. Darwinian evolution had explained where we had come from. And all of this was very humbling to particularly Christianity, to all religions, but particularly Christianity, because Christianity was like front and center while science was doing this thing, while it was growing into this extremely powerful thing. You could see it happen in philosophy too, where philosophy gave birth to all these disciplines, like physics, like medicine, like ethics, like all of these things. Like science used to be called natural philosophy. So philosophy is this big brother that sees this little brother science grow up and become this, the most successful one in the family. And philosophy still says, I don't need to be like you. I'm still going to be myself, right? But for a time, and this was also very popular around the time that Nietzsche was writing, you had this movement among philosophers where they said, hey, look at science. It's doing stuff that we can't do. We should just kind of quit being philosophers and instead all just be super scientists, right? So it's hard to overstate how influential science was, how impressed everybody was with science. And Nietzsche, being the thinker that he was, saying, like John Lennon says, the Beatles are bigger than Jesus. He was basically saying, like, man, this rationality, this project of using logic has matured so much that we've outgrown religion. We don't need it anymore, right? So he's not reaching up into heaven and saying, I've been there and I've seen the absence of God. He's not saying that, right? He's instead saying, look at history, look at how far we've come. We've got all of these like insanely great advancements. We've grown beyond this old religious way of thinking. Now, it is really important to remember that he did not think that this was a good thing. He thought, people are not going to be all right with this, right? And we think about this kind of thing all the time. You're like, okay, what's going to happen when people start dating AI anime people, and that's who we're having relationships with? Is that going to be the end of us? Or what about when we start dating robots, right? Is that going to be the end of us? There's always these questions about how society's changing. And then, oh man, this is happening now. We're going to have self-driving cars. What if a self-driving car kills somebody? Does that mean that we're, So Nietzsche was basically having another one of these questions and saying, basically, rationality has evolved to the point where it is challenging religion. And over time, rationality is going to keep getting bigger. And as it keeps getting bigger, that challenge is going to go, one way more and more and more often. And, in a lot of ways, he did see the future. So let's break this down, not from a societal point of view, not from a historical point of view, but from a personal point of view. If this is kind of the case in the world that we're living in, how to go forward? Well, we have three options. Number one would be you pick a religion and you believe in it. If the presence of a religion is such a positive thing in people's lives, why not just pick one and believe in it? Religion actually does make people's lives better, right? If I was a religious person, I would probably be more satisfied with my life, happier, and I would probably live longer, right? If I was somebody who is more of a believer. And they measure this over tons of studies. Like here, this first one about life satisfaction encompasses, it's a giant meta-analysis encompassing 256 studies. I don't know how in religion we ended up with the devil's number in there, but it certainly arrived in there. Specifically, spirituality showed a correlation coefficient of 0.3, right? So this is a very strong impact on life satisfaction, which is kind of a meta-analysis of all of the ways that you want life to be better, right? Happiness. I see this in all the happiness literature that I read, that people who are religious are actually much happier, right? And then longevity. The stress of not having a religion must kill us sooner, or that the happiness of having one makes people last longer in life. If it was as simple as being able to just pick a religion and say, that one, I like this one, right? You would be wise to do it because it would actually make your life better. I mean, empirically, the numbers show that being a religious person actually does make your life better. Now, option number two, you can do whether or not you have a religion. And it goes like this. Number one, pick a religion and believe it. But number two could be you create a personal mission. And the reason for this, Nietzsche was on this, just to go back to him. He said, most people, after the quote-unquote death of God, most people are doomed. This is not going to go well because we're going to have to confront nihilism. And you confront nihilism when you study science. Like Darwinian evolution, natural selection, is the most powerful paradigm in all of the biological sciences and all of the other sciences that kind of piggyback on top of biological sciences, such as psychology, right? Everything that's psychological is also coming from a biological position. The Darwinian paradigm states that pretty much all human behavior can be traced back to our desire to survive into reproductive age, make babies, and then take care of those babies. And this is not untrue. I'm doing all of this to try to pay for school for my child right now. There's a whole reason that I've created all of this stuff. So, I mean, the biological drives are real. let's be fair, she did make me those badass monsters, so I couldn't do any of this without her. But that just means that this human project is something that we're just creating in perpetuity all the time, and the only point is just to get more humans into the future. I mean, maybe that's the roots of humanism. So this is possible that you could have something emerge from that, so that's like a system. But it's also quite nihilistic if you end up thinking that all you're supposed to do is survive, have sex, provide for a kid until that kid doesn't need you anymore, and then become soil so that plants can grow from the remnants of your body, right? This is what biology tells us. There are no immortal souls there for us to think about and derive our virtues from, right? So, number 2, create a mission above and beyond simply procreating, right? Science doesn't give us a meaning of life level mission. So you would have to give that to yourself. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. You have this idea that the meaning of every person's life is unique. And the question is not one that you're supposed to find the answer to. You're supposed to produce that answer. What is the meaning of your life? You, now, what is the meaning of your life? You are being asked by existence to produce the meaning of your life as an answer, and you're supposed to live that answer. Nietzsche is great for this kind of thing because he believes that the few are capable of this. And these are the free spirits, right? Free spirits is this idea that you are somebody who can create your own values. Nietzsche thought that this is rare. He thought almost nobody is going to be a free spirit. Pretty much everybody is a conformist. They want to follow a herd, and they want to just believe and be told what to do. Self-command is rare. It's also difficult. And if you have something that's an actual mission, a tangible mission, you can unlock great potential, right? Okay. The last option, which I don't recommend, but it's the one everybody follows, would be to let media guide your life. In the absence of religion, what we have instead is media, right? Media is all around us all the time, and it is pushing us towards things, whether we know it or not. We think that we're these enlightened people because we no longer believe in these ancient systems. And I tell my students all the time, your parents had religion, you have TikTok, right? And in my 12-week course, we spend 1 week talking about how media brainwashes us and how to break the spell.
Change your life on purpose.
Free to scroll through and you'll find it. The one to look for would be Buddhism versus Facebook. Okay. So here's my example, and please don't hate me for this one. I know that Elon Musk used to be somebody who everybody thought was, not everybody, but a lot of people respected him, and he has greatly fallen off during this time, but he's still the best example of this particular thing, and I'll tell you why. I know people who are so rich that they don't have to work. And you know what they do? They don't work. What they do instead is they hang out with the people who they really love. They book all these social engagements so that they can have long, deep conversations. They go to the places that they want to see in the world. Nobody knows who they are. They don't have a Wikipedia page about them. They're just rich enough to the point where they don't have to work. Elon Musk had that off-ramp several times in his life. He has it all the time now, but he never took it. And instead, he became the richest person in the world. Now, I'm not saying you should want that. I think, personally, I wouldn't want that. I would instead want to do something else. But Elon Musk became the richest person in the world. Is it because he's the smartest person in the world? Is it because he's the best person in the world? I would say no twice, right? What he is ridiculously motivated, and he's motivated specifically by a mission. Now, again, Just like lifting a couple weights isn't going to turn you into some Arnold Schwarzenegger looking person, following a mission statement is not going to turn you into a crazy narcissistic businessman, okay? I'm using him as an example, even though he's kind of an extreme example, for a reason that you'll get in 1 second. So please allow me to Elon Musk for 5 minutes. Okay. So, mission statements. Every company, if they had a mission statement that was honest, would be to get money more than the work I put in. Done. That's my mission statement, right? But that doesn't work out because just getting money for most people isn't enough. And you definitely can't motivate other people to work for you if your goal is you guys are supposed to work and I'm going to take your excess profits, right? We can read Marx about this. No, you have to have some kind of a mission statement that's amazing. And if you look at Elon Musk, he is a master of creating missions that seem like he's trying to
Save the world.
And I'll give you 4 examples. The first one would be Tesla. With Tesla, he says, and you believe whatever you want to believe, but he says that Tesla exists because he wanted to create the electric car, which was impossible. And no, he didn't invent it himself. And yes, Tesla existed before him. I get it. But it's an Elon thing. And he did it, he says, because he wanted to help the world out to transition away from fossil fuels. We now live in a world where China has started mass producing electric cars based on technology that he freely gave them. And the world is becoming a world where electric cars are now a thing that normal people can buy. They're not just a toy for the rich like they were when he started. He says he's doing it to try to
Save the world.
He thinks he's doing it to try to save the world. SpaceX. Why is he so obsessed with space travel and with creating these reusable rockets and actually making it feasible for us to be blasting off into space? It's definitely in contrast to his goal of climate change because we actually have to burn a lot of fossil fuels in order to make that happen. But that's neither here nor there, right? We're not trying to argue about whether or not he's a good person. We're trying to argue about whether mission statements work or not, right? So why SpaceX? I'll tell you why. He worries that if a superbug wipes out all of humanity on Earth, then we're all dead. If an asteroid hits Earth, then we're all dead, and that's the end of humanity. And maybe it's the end of consciousness. Maybe we're the only conscious species in all of existence, and that would be the end of us. But he thinks that if you put some humans on Mars, and then Earth gets hit by something like a plague or Yellowstone explodes, you can look at all this stuff and Google existential risk if you want to worry about this kind of stuff. But Elon is legit worried about these things, and that's why he makes SpaceX. That's why he works so hard on SpaceX, is because he wants to
Save all of humanity.
You probably don't believe this. He believes it, right? He believes his own stuff. Neuralink. He wants to put computers into people's brains. Why? Well, there's a near-term goal of helping people who can't walk be able to walk. Helping people who can't, do certain things have these powers come back. But there's going to be a long term. And the long term is going to be that AI God is going to awaken. And when AI God awakens, he doesn't want us to be left behind. He wants us to have a way of communicating with it that doesn't involve our thumbs or our fingers or our mouths making mouth noises. He wants us to have a brain that's completely open to it. This sounds terrifying and dystopian, but Musk has apparently thought this through. He used to be super afraid of AI and trying to slow down. Now he's trying to accelerate it. And he's doing this because he thinks it's going to save humanity, right? At least he's telling himself this. Last one would be Twitter/X. And this he will say he did in order to try to save the public platform, save free speech, You don't have to believe him. You don't. You don't have to believe any of these things. But I think that you can believe that he wouldn't take the off-ramp and just go drive crazy cars and hang out with his friends and raise his children and jump off cliffs into water and listen to yacht rock on yachts with other billionaires, right? He didn't take any of those off-ramps. He works like crazy. He's doing these crazy things, and I think it's because he's built these mission statements that drive him towards his purpose. Now, we might all be able to agree that he's probably unhealthy in this way, right? He's probably unhealthy at this point. But he has a thing that most people don't have, and he has way too much of it. Middle path. How do we find more of that? The answer would be to create a personal mission statement. You don't need to become him. I hope you don't become him. But if you're rather unmotivated, the chance of becoming Elon Musk because you wrote down a personal mission statement is not super high, right? The potential for completely destroying the good parts of your life is actually quite low, right? Okay? I hope that you'll get my extreme example here. So, like I said, 3 options. Given the fact that Nietzsche says religion, the sun has set on religion and the sun of science has risen, and it is completely without direction, without meaning. You can't look at rationality itself and answer the question, what the fuck should I do with my life? Right? It's not going to give you that direction. You have to give yourself that direction. There's 3 ways to do it. You could pick a religion that has all of these energies built into it that you can follow, and you can always be referring to an absolute truth. You can also, these are not mutually exclusive, create a personal mission statement that drives you towards a purpose that you have chosen. You can be a free spirit who creates your own values. You can become a disciple to yourself. I have a class called Change Your Life on Purpose. Week 8 or 9, we're going to write a personal mission statement after getting the habits thing all set in. And that's kind of the centerpiece of the course, kind of getting you to reveal what your own virtues are and trying to live by your own lights, right? So it's very non-specific, but it asks you to be very specific in your own way, if that makes sense. The third option is happening all the time. Let media guide your life instead. And I think that it's not really a choice of the 3. It's just basically all 3 of these things are pulling on you at once. If you don't have a mission, it's not pulling on you at all. If you don't have a religion, you're basically just a leaf in the breeze. Your biological drives and culture are kind of just like pulling you around. Cultivating number 2 gives you an internal center of gravity that is pushing you towards something that you believe in, that you have decided, right? So, you want to do that? I have a course. It's called Change Your Life on Purpose. And as I said before, part of my biological drives is to pay for my kids' super expensive international school tuition because I don't live in the West. And it's really expensive, and I don't want anybody to hit her with a stick. She's an artist. She makes art. You'll see her art. And she just kind of doesn't belong in a place where she's going to be forced into like a massive conformity, right? That doesn't fit. She's been indoctrinated with way too much freedom by her dad. So if you want to get down, link in the description. See you on the other side.
Peace.